The stars above were quiet. Nothing moved. No sound. No signals. No answers. Only the cold, dark silence of deep space. Somewhere far beyond Earth's reach, the exploration ship called the Sentinel floated slowly through the void. Its lights blinked softly as it passed through the Orion Edge, a dangerous zone where ships rarely returned. Inside, Commander Reyna sat in the main control chair, staring at the black screen ahead. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed worry. The Draconian fleet had disappeared here 2 weeks ago. 40 ships, gone, no messages, no distress signals, just silence. Her crew of 20 sat at their stations, quietly watching their screens. Some whispered to each other. Others typed fast, scanning for signals or movements, but space gave them nothing. Reyna spoke softly. "Any sign of them?" Lieutenant Mark shook his head. "Nothing. Not even radiation. It's like they were never here." That's what made it worse. The Draconians were strong, proud, and loud. If someone attacked them, they would fight. They would send out warnings, calls for help. But this time, there had been nothing. No escape pods, no wreckage, no noise. The Sentinel moved forward into the zone, its scanners wide open. Everyone felt the tension. They didn't like being here. It felt wrong. Suddenly, Ensign Tali gasped. "Commander, I've got something." Reyna stood up. "What is it?" "A signal, weak, broken. It's repeating over and over. I can't understand the language." "Put it on speaker." The room filled with a strange whispering sound, a voice broken by static. No one could understand it. It wasn't Draconian. It wasn't human. It wasn't any known language. Reyna looked at her science officer. "Is this natural?" He shook his head. "No. Someone sent this, but it's old. Maybe days. Maybe longer." "Location?" "Dead ahead, near a debris field." That was the first sign of anything in days. Reyna ordered the ship forward. As they moved closer, the crew fell silent. Their screens lit up with new data, metal, wreckage, energy trails. They had found something. Outside the ship, broken pieces of metal floated slowly. Giant chunks of destroyed hulls, twisted weapons, shattered engines. It was a graveyard, the remains of the Draconian fleet. They stopped the ship. Everyone stared in shock. So many ships, all destroyed, all floating without power, no lights, no movement. Mark whispered, "How did this happen?" Reyna didn't answer. She walked to the window and looked out. These weren't battle wounds. These ships weren't just destroyed. They were melted, cut in half. Some looked like they had been crushed from the inside. "Scan for life," she ordered. The reply came quickly. No signs of life, no bodies, no escape pods. Tali's voice shook. "It's like they didn't have time to run." The Sentinel moved deeper into the debris field. The crew watched closely, searching every broken piece for answers. A small pod was found, but it was empty. No blood, no damage, just empty. Reyna felt a cold chill. Something was wrong. The Draconians would never go down this easily. They were a warrior race. Proud, loud. They would have fought to the last breath. But here, they had died silently. Then Tali found something strange. "Commander, there's a metal object floating ahead. It's not Draconian. It's not human, either." Reyna frowned. "Bring it in." They used the ship's mechanical arms to pull the object into the cargo bay. It was small, about the size of a helmet, black, smooth, and shining. It had strange markings across it, curved lines and glowing symbols. Reyna walked around the object slowly. "Is it dangerous?" The science officer scanned it. "I don't know. It's not made of any metal we know, and it's still active. It's giving off energy." Mark added, "Commander, there's something odd. It's not damaged at all. Every other ship is in pieces, but this thing, it's perfect. That made everyone more nervous. They moved it to the lab for deeper scans. As the scientists worked, the rest of the crew returned to their stations. The lights on the bridge flickered. For a moment, the ship's computer froze. Reyna looked up. Is that from the object? The engineer shook his head. Not sure. Could be. Then the warning lights flashed. Commander! Tali shouted. Motion detected behind us. Reyna turned to the screen. A small signal appeared. Something was moving, slowly, carefully. It had no engine trail, no light, no signal. She gave the order. Turn us around, cameras on full zoom. The screen showed blackness at first. Then, something appeared. A shape, long, thin, and moving slowly. It wasn't a ship. It had no metal shine, no engines. It looked like bone. The shape turned, then vanished into the darkness. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. It was gone. Reyna's voice was quiet. Did it see us? Tali shook her head. I don't know. The object in the lab began to glow brighter. The lights across the ship flickered again. And then, the alarms began. A voice came from the ship's AI. Warning. External scan detected. We are being scanned by an unknown source. Reyna's eyes widened. Shut it down! Stop all outgoing signals! But it was too late. The object in the lab pulsed. A high-pitched sound filled the ship. Lights flashed. Systems failed. The engines stopped. The crew screamed as the ship shook. Then, silence. Everything stopped. The lights came back slowly. The ship's systems returned, but the engines were still off. The science officer ran to the bridge. Commander, the object activated. It sent out a wave. Something ancient, I think. It's a beacon. Mark looked around. A beacon? For what? No one spoke. Reyna stared out the window, her voice low. I think we're not alone anymore. The screen flickered again. A new signal appeared. It was bigger, closer, and it was coming fast. The crew stood frozen. The thing that destroyed the Draconian fleet and was coming for them next. The warning light still blinked faintly across the bridge as the Sentinel drifted in the black void. The strange object they had found was now inside the lab, glowing softly like it held a secret waiting to be told. The crew was tense, their eyes darting between screens and each other. The silence that had once haunted the depths of space now seemed to pulse inside the ship itself. Commander Reyna stood near the viewport watching the stars. It was a calm night outside, but inside, everything was unsettled. The engine's sudden failure had left them stranded. No signals, no way to call home, and worst of all, something had been watching them from the darkness, something that had followed them here. Inside the lab, the scientists were gathered around the mysterious black metal object. Its surface shimmered like liquid shadow, and the glowing symbols moved slowly, almost like they were breathing. Dr. Kyle, the lead scientist, reached out his gloved hand, cautious but curious. As soon as his fingers brushed the metal, the symbols pulsed with light. The object reacted. Look, at this, Kyle said quietly. The energy inside is not just power, it's something else, something alive maybe. One of the technicians shivered. Alive? But it's just a piece of metal. Kyle shook his head slowly. I don't think so. It's more like a mind. Something connected, waiting for a signal. Reyna entered the lab, her face serious. What does that mean for us? Kyle looked up. It means this thing is not just a relic. It might be the reason the Draconian fleet disappeared. Maybe it's a signal device, or a trap. Or both, Mark added from behind. The crew knew the truth. Whatever this was, it was more than they could understand, and it was active. Back on the bridge, the communications officer tried desperately to send a distress message to Earth, but all attempts failed. The strange waves from the object were jamming every frequency. They were completely cut off. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke again, calm but firm. Unknown signal detected. It is approaching. Everyone turned to the screen. A dark shape was moving closer, larger now. It was not like any ship or creature they had ever seen. Its surface shimmered with a strange light like stars trapped inside a glass orb. The object was closing in slowly, deliberately. No engines, no sound. Reyna ordered all hands to stations. Prepare for contact, but no sudden moves. We don't know what we're dealing with. The dark shape stopped just outside the ship's sensors. For minutes, nothing happened. The crew waited, holding their breath. Then the shape began to change. It stretched and twisted, moving like smoke in the wind. Lights flickered across its surface, showing images, flashes of planets, stars, and battles long ago. It was showing them something. A story. Tali gasped. It's showing us history, the Draconians, other races, all wiped out. Reyna's eyes narrowed. Why? The AI interrupted. The object claims to be a guardian. It cleans the galaxy of threats before they can harm others. Mark shook his head. Guardian or not, it destroyed the Draconian fleet. That's the truth. Kale spoke up, voice low. But maybe it's trying to protect something else. Maybe Earth is next because we're growing too strong. The room fell silent. No one wanted to believe it. Suddenly, the metal object in the lab started, glowing brighter. The lights flickered wildly. The crew rushed in, but the glow calmed just as fast as it started. Kale frowned. It's reacting again. To what? I don't know. Reyna looked to her crew. We have to find a way out of here before it's too late. But the ship was dead in the water, and outside the dark shape waited patiently. Time passed slowly. The crew took turns watching the object and the strange visitor outside. They tried to talk to it, to understand. But every message was met with silence. Then one night, as the ship floated silently, the communications officer heard something new, a faint whisper in the static. It was not from the ship's systems. It was coming from the black object. The whisper grew louder, forming words no one understood but somehow felt in their minds. One by one, the crew began to hear voices in their dreams, speaking in a language older than stars. It spoke of balance, of protection, and a warning. That life must be careful or face the end. Reyna's sleep was filled with these visions. She saw herself standing on a dead world, the last survivor watching the sky burn. When she woke, she knew they were running out of time. The dark shape outside shifted again, moving closer. It was ready to act. The crew prepared for what they didn't fully understand. A meeting was called to decide their next move. Stay and learn more, or try to escape with the mysterious object aboard. But before anyone could decide, the object sent a pulse through the ship. Systems rebooted suddenly. Lights came back on. Engines hummed softly. Reyna was stunned. It's giving us power? Kyle nodded. Or choosing us? The question was clear. Was this object a friend or a threat? Could they trust it? Could Earth trust it? The ship moved slowly away from the debris field, engines alive but cautious. The dark shape followed. The game had only just begun. The answers they sought were not simple, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's windows as the Sentinel slowly moved away from the ghostly remains of the Draconian fleet. Inside, the crew was restless. The strange object, now humming softly in the lab, had become both a mystery and a burden. Everyone felt its weight, like a silent watcher that held secrets too big to understand. Commander Reyna stood on the bridge, hands gripping the rail as her eyes traced the patterns of the stars. The ship's new power systems were stable, but the unknown presence that followed them was closer than ever. The dark shape had changed again. No longer a distant shadow, but something that shimmered, twisting and bending light in ways that made it impossible to focus. Sensors picking up something new, Tali said quietly. She never stopped watching, the displays searching for any sign or clue. Reyna nodded. Show me. The screen flickered, then revealed a cluster of small lights moving fast through space. They weren't ships, at least not any kind the crew recognized. They glowed, like tiny fireflies drifting in strange, deliberate patterns. Mark frowned. Are they alive? Kale stepped forward, rubbing his chin. Could be. Some kind of life form. Or a communication method we don't understand. The small lights moved closer. The ship's AI tried to analyze, but it was a tangle of data, with no clear meaning. Suddenly, one of the glowing orbs split into 2, then 4, then dozens. They scattered in every direction like sparks from a fire surrounding the sentinel. Reyna's heart beat faster. Stay alert. We don't know what they want. The glowing lights pulsed gently, and the ship's instruments began to pick up patterns, slow rhythms, repeating signals, something like a heartbeat. Tali whispered, "It's like they're trying to communicate." The crew gathered around the communications console. Reyna ordered, "Open a channel. Try to send a peaceful message." They sent simple greetings, basic words, images of Earth, and peaceful signs. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lights responded, pulsing in time with the signals. Kale smiled faintly. They understand us, and somehow. The glowing orbs began to gather into a shape, like a giant web of light weaving around the ship. The sensation in the air changed. It was warm and gentle, as if the light itself was alive. Reyna felt something deep inside, a calm she hadn't known in days. The object in the lab pulsed in response. It was connected. Suddenly, the ship's AI announced a new message. It wasn't spoken, but a flood of images and feelings that filled the minds of every crew member. They saw planets, forests, rivers, and skies filled with light. They felt the calm of quiet moons and the joy of new life growing. But alongside, the beauty came a warning that growth must be balanced with respect or the cycle would bring ruin. The crew gasped. The message was clear. Life was precious but fragile. The mysterious light beings were guardians, not destroyers. They protected the natural order of the universe. Reyna's voice was steady but full of awe. They don't want war. They want peace. But they will act if balance is broken. Mark looked uneasy. If that's true, why destroy the Draconian fleet? Kale answered. The Draconians were strong and proud, but their ways may have threatened that balance. Maybe the Guardians saw them as a risk. The crew understood the weight of those words. They were caught in a story far larger than themselves, a cosmic dance between power and harmony. Then the object in the lab began to change again. Its glow grew softer, warmer. It sent out a beam of light that touched the ship's control panel. The screen flickered, revealing something new, a map of stars, constellations, and paths. Reyna leaned closer. It's showing us where to go. Kyle nodded. A route, maybe a safe place, a chance to learn more. The crew gathered, hope sparking in their tired eyes. They had been lost in darkness, but now there was a path forward. But the journey would not be easy. Outside, the glowing orbs continued their silent dance, lighting the way through the silent space. The ship moved carefully along the path, each moment filled with new questions. What awaited them at the end? Would they find answers? Or more mysteries? Could Earth survive the truth they were about to discover? The story was far from over. The path shown on the map glowed faintly on the bridge's main screen. It stretched like a thread woven through the darkness of space, connecting distant stars and hidden worlds. The Sentinel was now more than just a drifting ship. It had a direction, a purpose, but with that came a deep sense of uncertainty. Commander Reyna stared at the stars outside, her mind racing. Every step forward felt like walking on a thin line between discovery and danger. The glowing orbs continued their quiet dance outside, their light a soft comfort in the endless night. We follow this path, she said finally, but we stay alert. We don't know what lies ahead. Kyle was already preparing the sensors for a closer scan of the route. The stars here aren't on any known charts. This map could lead us to something new, or something forgotten. Tali looked over the data streaming in. The orbs are reacting to the map too. They're guiding us. For days, the ship glided through space, moving steadily along the invisible thread. The crew's tension eased, replaced by quiet curiosity. In the mess hall, conversations buzzed with questions about what awaited them. The mysteries were no longer just shadows. They were real, almost within reach. But the deeper they went, the stronger the feeling grew that they were being watched. Not with hostility, but with caution. It was as if the universe itself was holding its breath. One night, as the crew rested, the object in the lab pulsed suddenly. The glowing symbols shifted, forming patterns none could understand at first. Then a sound filled the air, soft, like the wind whispering through leaves. It was music, strange but beautiful, filled with hope and warning. Reyna was called to the lab. As she entered, the object's light seemed to reach toward her, gentle but insistent. The AI translated the symbols into words. The path leads to the core, the heart of balance. Prepare. Prepare for what? She asked aloud, but no answer came. The core. The word echoed in the minds of everyone on board. It felt like the center of something vast and important, a place where all the universe's secrets might come together. The next day, the sensors picked up a faint energy signal far ahead, a pulse steady and slow, like the heartbeat of a giant, sleeping beneath the stars. The glowing orbs increased in number, surrounding the ship like a protective shield. The energy signal was unlike anything the crew had seen before. It was alive with possibility and promise, but also with the weight of ancient responsibility. Kyle studied the readings carefully. This energy, it's the source of the Guardians' power, the balance they protect. Tali added, "If we reach it, maybe we can understand the reason behind the destruction of the Draconian fleet, maybe even the future of Earth." Reyna's voice was steady, but her eyes revealed the weight she felt inside. "We don't just carry our lives on this journey, we carry the fate of many worlds." The ship's AI suddenly spoke, breaking the quiet. Unknown transmission detected. Incoming message. The crew rushed to their stations. The message was, not spoken but images flowed through the screens. A vision of a vast shimmering city floating in space, bathed in light and calm. It showed beings made of energy, peaceful and wise, moving among stars and planets. The message was clear. This was the core, the heart of the Guardians' power. As the ship approached, the glowing orbs began to change, merging into a single, brilliant light that stretched out like a bridge. It invited the sentinel forward. Reyna gave the order. "Bring us closer." The ship glided forward, following the bridge of light into the heart of the unknown. Inside, the crew felt a deep calm wash over them. The core was a place of endless beauty and silence, a place where time seemed to slow and the vastness of space felt close and personal. But beneath the peace, questions remained. What would happen when they reached the center? Would the Guardians welcome them, or would they face a test? Reyna looked at her crew, their faces a mix of hope and fear. This journey had changed them all. They were no longer just explorers. They were messengers, carriers of a truth that could change the course of history. The path ahead was unknown, but whatever awaited in the core, they would face it together. The gentle light of the core embraced the sentinel as it moved deeper into the shimmering heart of the ancient Guardian's domain. The calm within the ship was unlike anything the crew had experienced, a quiet that felt alive, almost thoughtful, as if the very air held memories of a time before stars were born. Commander Reyna stood near the viewport, watching the colors shift around them. The core was not just a place. It was a living network of energy and wisdom pulsing softly with life and knowledge. The glowing orbs that had guided them now faded, replaced by an endless sea of light stretching in every direction. Inside the lab, the mysterious object responded to the environment, its glow deepening, its symbols flowing like water. Dr. Kale and his team worked tirelessly to decode the patterns, hoping to unlock secrets that could explain everything, from the fate of the Draconian fleet to the future of Earth itself. As the hours passed, the crew began receiving more messages. Not words, but visions and feelings, a language older than any spoken tongue. They saw glimpses of the Guardian's purpose, to maintain balance across the cosmos, to protect life from forces that might upset harmony. even if it meant making hard choices. The realization settled slowly. The Guardians were not enemies but protectors, acting with care beyond human understanding. Yet their power was absolute and their judgment final. Reyna gathered her crew. We've been shown much, but we need answers. Why us? Why Earth? Why now? Kyle nodded. The messages suggest we are at a crossroads. Earth's growth and technology have reached a point that attracts the Guardians' attention, not because we are a threat, but because we hold great potential. Tali added, potential for creation or destruction. The ship's AI suddenly interrupted, alerting them to a new energy signature nearby. Unknown presence detected. It approaches. Outside, a new form appeared, not like the dark shape that had followed them before, but a figure of pure light. It moved gracefully, radiating warmth and peace. The ship's sensors could barely contain the energy it emitted. The figure communicated directly with the crew's minds, bypassing words. It was a guardian, the Core's emissary. You have come far. The Guardian's voice echoed within. Their thoughts. You seek knowledge, understanding, and a place in the balance, but the path is not without trials. Reyna asked in her mind, what must we do? The Guardian's reply was clear. You must prove your readiness, not with force, but with wisdom, courage, and respect for life. The Core will test your intentions. Only then will your fate be decided. The crew prepared themselves for the unknown. Each member felt the weight of the moment. This was more than a mission. It was a chance to shape the future. The Core's light shifted, forming a vast hall filled with symbols, puzzles, and memories. The crew was invited inside to explore, learn, and demonstrate their values. Challenges came not as obstacles but as lessons, understanding the consequences of choices, seeing the beauty in small acts of kindness, and embracing the mystery of the universe with humility. Days passed, each filled with discovery and quiet revelation. The crew grew closer, their bonds strengthened by shared experience and a growing respect for the Guardian's purpose. Finally, the Guardian spoke again. You have walked the path of balance. You have shown your hearts and minds. Now you must choose. Reyna's mind filled with images, a vision of Earth, vibrant and alive but fragile, a choice between growth guided by wisdom or reckless expansion that could bring harm. The decision rested with her, and through her, with all humanity. The Core awaited their answer, patient and serene. The future was no longer a mystery, but a promise shaped by hope, courage, and the timeless dance of life in the vast universe. The glowing halls of the Core shimmered softly as Commander Reyna stood at the center, her mind heavy with the choice before her. Around her, the vastness of space felt closer than ever, a silent witness to the moment that could change everything. The Guardian's light pulsed gently, as if waiting patiently for an answer, born not just of thought, but of heart. The weight of responsibility pressed on Reyna's shoulders. This was no longer a mission about survival or discovery. It was about the future of Earth and all the life it held. The visions from the Core had shown her the beauty of creation and the fragility of balance. The choice was clear in theory, but complex in reality. She thought about her crew, their hopes, fears, and dreams. They had traveled through darkness and silence, through mystery and wonder. They were more than explorers now. They were ambassadors, representatives of a world standing at a crossroads. A voice filled her mind, not loud or commanding, but gentle and full of ancient wisdom. The future is not fixed, it said. It is shaped by choices, by the courage to grow with respect, and the strength to protect without harm. Reyna took a slow breath and looked out across the glowing expanse of the Core. The light shifted, revealing two paths, one bright and full of promise, the other shadowed and uncertain. Each path held its own possibilities, its own challenges. The bright path whispered of unity, cooperation, and harmony between worlds. It promised a future where Earth would learn from the Guardians, grow with care, and become a force for balance and hope in the universe. The shadowed path spoke of rapid progress, power without guidance, and the risk of tipping the delicate scales toward chaos. It was a path familiar to many civilizations, a path that led to destruction not by enemies, but by the choices made without wisdom. Reyna's heart ached as she weighed the futures. The core had shown her the truth, that power was not evil, but without respect it could unravel everything. Her crew gathered silently behind her, their faces calm but full of trust. They understood the importance of the moment. Reyna turned to them and spoke with quiet certainty. We choose the path of balance. We choose to grow with wisdom and care. We promise to protect life, not just ours, but all around us. The core responded with a wave of light that washed over the ship like a blessing. The ancient energy filled every corner of the Sentinel, strengthening systems and renewing hope. The mysterious object in the lab glowed warmly, its secrets slowly, revealing themselves as a gift rather than a burden. The glowing orbs returned, but this time they danced freely around the ship, a sign of acceptance and trust. The Guardian's presence was no longer distant or uncertain. It was a partnership. As the Sentinel prepared to leave the core, the stars outside seemed brighter, alive with possibilities. The ship's AI displayed a new map, one filled with paths of cooperation and knowledge, routes to new worlds and new friends. Reyna felt a deep peace settle over her. The journey had tested everything they knew and believed, but it had also opened a door to something greater. Earth's place in the cosmos is not just to survive, she said softly. It is to learn, to grow, and to shine. The crew smiled, their hearts lifted by hope. They had been given a chance to change the future, not just for their world, but for all life. As the Sentinel turned toward the stars, the light of the core followed, a guiding beacon for the adventures yet to come. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now, Earth was ready to step forward, careful, curious, and united.